Welcome to the Meat and Potatoes podcast. We're here with Gladymir Philippe, who is the founder at Kado. How are you?
Good, and you?
Very good, thank you. Let's just jump in with the story of Kado. Where did the idea come from?
Kado comes from last year in March. My little sister called me and said that, hey, glad I really need a job because I'm finishing school in May. I'm like, okay, fine. And then I really tap into my network and I help her get a job within 3 weeks. And she called back. I'm like, will you say thank you? She's like, nope. I'm like, okay, fine. She's like, but can you help my classmates? I'm like, nope. She's like, why you say no? I'm like, yeah. And she said, well, I will tell my friends that you didn't even try and you said no. I'm like, well, your friends at Yale don't really know me. And he was like, well, they are not black, so they will really get mad at you. I'm like, well, fine. And then I just call a few friends from like Cali, from Texas too as well. I'm like, okay, and they each got a job. And I'm like, what if I can help 5 more students or 10, 20? But I would have to call people but what if I want to help thousands and thousands of students? How? And I'm like, okay, I need to build a platform for college students to really show their skill set. And I built the first version of the app, which really was a freelance app. And I called I called a few schools, and they're like, well, we don't really need that, but can you build us an internship management tools for the projects that we have on, and the businesses that would want to give some projects to students. I'm like, okay, fine. And I thought it was really a bad idea, but I didn't have the name Kado yet. I was like, okay, cool. And I called them again. I'm like, can you sit on Zoom with me and to brainstorm the product that you want? And they're like, oh, yeah. And then I spent the whole summer with the U, V-School, with Yale too as well. And I just got that. And I got a few students from the U Business School, master students who help with design, coding too as well. And I built that light version of it. And then we did the first group of projects last fall. And then I'm like, if my sister had me to help her and her friends, so she was lucky. And if the schools are willing to help me build that platform, I am so gifted because I can help my sister, and then the people see that I really want to help other people, and I'm like, so this is a great name for my business now, Kado. I'm like, it means gift in English. I'm like, but Kado in French is long. I'm like, let me spell that so that everyone can like spell it correctly. Then I make it short, Kado. So yeah.
Very cool. So it started with your sister, and then you have the ability, because you're a computer scientist, right?
Yes.
To build out the basic prototype. And I like the fact that they're like, we don't need this, but what about this? And so it's like a quick pivot, with the end goal being scalability, right? Like,
yes.
The version that you did with your sister, you could, I don't know, tap out at like 20 a week, right? Because that's a lot of phone calls and emails and conversations. Not worth it.
Yes.
But it sounds like your sister knows how to get things from you as well.
Yes.
All right. So you've got to wear a bunch of hats now, right?
Yes.
You got to cold call or get networked in with these schools, pitch them on the idea. How has that gone?
Man, it was hard to really learn how to call the schools and the businesses and to talk to clients, to users, because I just was a shy little guy and just like staying at home and code all day all night long. But now I'm like, okay, I need to go out and pitch to VCs and call school and go to meetings. I'm like, this is not how I'm gonna do it. And I try to talk to a few friends and to bring them on as a CEO. I'm like, they don't know the vision. They might not have the passion for it. I'm like, I am the CEO because I can tell the story. And I was like, okay, I need to really get out of my shelves and to be the person to really help build Kado.
Yeah. Um, that's part of being an entrepreneur is just being uneasy a lot of the times, I
Oh,
would
yeah.
imagine. All right. So today, let's just do an example with University of Utah. How does it work today?
Today works so the master students the business schools, they have a few projects. There are two of them I know now. It's called Crimson projects and Capstone projects. So the teachers would use Kado and they would send a notifications to businesses and say, hey, we want to really have 10 projects this fall or this spring or this summer. And then the businesses that are really interested would send a project this description to the teacher. The teacher would cut the projects and see which ones make the most sense. Then they would use Kado to really jump on a Zoom call and for the business partners to pitch the projects to students. Then the students would pick the projects that make the most sense to the skill set, and then they would have a call with the business partners and to really see what they need, the training that they need prior to start working on the projects, and then um, where Kado gets really involved is if the business is busy and then Kado has some coaches or some interns or some product managers on Kado that would help students work on those projects because the students might get stuck. They might not know how to use some tech tools, and Kado would jump in and to really help the schools and the businesses.
All right. Very cool. So you're marrying up two things then at the same time, the business partners, universities, and then the students.
Yes.
Um, and I imagine the benefit for the students, let's just say project comes back and it's for a company they would like to work
Yes.
with. So that's a pretty big advantage that you get to work on this project for a company that you possibly will interview with in the future because they'll know your work. They'll know you.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And every project is done on Kado. So it's like a thing on Google or Slack and email. Everything stays on Kado. And every business that wants to hire students can request to view the student's profile on Kado and then see the projects that they really had worked on before and to really decide if that student has the right skill set. But there is no resume on Kado. It's really based on the past projects.
Very cool. So it's a little bit more merit based and actually truthful, right?
Yeah.
Because I could say I was an astronaut on my resume,
Prove it.
Prove it. And then I got in the spacecraft and pressed the wrong button. They're like, "Oh, you were not an astronaut, right?"
Yeah.
We all know what resumes are. All right, so the projects are weeks, months? What's the duration of a average project?
So with the Crimson projects, they are 6 months long.
Okay.
With the Capstone projects, they can be from 3 to 6 months. And when we go with ads or finance and things like that, they might be like a month long or 2 3 weeks. And yeah, depending on the projects, but for more hands-on projects, they are 3 to 6 month length.
Very cool. And you mentioned it all lives on Kado.
Yes.
And so all the parties involved will
Yes.
be able to know, like, all right, this is going good.
Yes.
Or like, oh, this got off the rails a little bit. Let's get it back on, right?
Yes. Every business, every school, every student has a dashboard, and then the businesses too as well can assign tasks to students every week. So that's a way to really know if students are working on this project. They are falling behind because um, students in school might not want to really do the homework, but they might treat those projects to as a homework, and it's really good for Kado to create those features and for the schools and the businesses to see if students are working on that. So Kado can force the schools to replace that college students, because for Kado, we want to give those business partners the projects back on time.
Yeah. And so the day arrives and the project due date's there,
Yes.
and um, it's all up to par. It's all good. It's exactly what all the parties wanted. I assume that's one of your positive end results that you're
Yes.
looking for. Very cool. And these students are usually going to graduate shortly thereafter and move on with their life after the project. Is that right?
Yes, but we can start with a freshman too as well, because if so, let's say a freshman student work on 2 projects per year, say 3 to 6 months long, and within the second or third year, they should be able to land a high paying tech jobs. And that's what success means to Kado. Is not projects done on Kado, but it's how many students that get a full-time tech job.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very good. A lot of moving parts there, but it sounds like you guys are dialing it in. This addresses a lot of problems that the world is currently facing. But here in Utah, just as a microcosm, talent shortage, right?
Yeah.
And so the businesses are like, we need to grow, we need to scale. Where are these people? They're here and there all over the place, and they just need a platform and a communication tool to do that. Because I guess in the olden days, there's lots of founders that dropped out sophomore, junior year, right? Because they went and did a summer internship, and the company's like, you don't need to go finish school, right? But again, like no platform or not scalable, right? Like just kind of luck. So talent shortages across the board, but talk about how like Kado could impact that and be a part of the solution.
Yes, and when you really look at the talent strategy, it's big because from 2022 to 2025, there will be 124 million tech jobs unfilled. And when you look at that, how many students that got a bachelor degree in the last 200 years, less than 200 million people in USA. And now you want 124 million people in 6 years or less.
Yeah.
And that's a lot. And how can we get those college students to really go and fill those jobs, and with the tech ecosystem, people are leaving their jobs to really start a new business, and that person that left his or her job, there's a position now that's really unfilled, and then he creates 20, 30 more, right? So one person causes 30 jobs unfilled, and so that's how bad it is. And Kado's job is to really forces the so instead of the businesses waiting for 6 months to 9 months to we to reopen a job, because it takes time and money to reopen job and to hire people and to train them. Now every of the small tasks that I could have given to you and said, okay, I'm gonna give that to you, I'm gonna give that to Dave. And then after a few months, you are so stressed because it's too much work, right? So the businesses now can take that small task and then create a project on Kado. Students are getting the skill set and getting paid to as well. And then the business are taking those students from a fast food job. Now the student is in school, focused in class, and then using the same thing that they are learning in class and then put it on the project. And now those students are putting hands-on experience, and then after a year or two, they can land a high-paying tech jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's not easy what you're building, but it's fairly common sense, right? Like,
Yes.
why don't you practice what you're learning, right? Like, people don't read books about basketball.
No.
They play basketball.
Yes.
So, it only makes sense with what your vision is there. And we're only talking, the United States, and I'm not very good at math, but I know that that 124 can't be met.
Yes. You look at the USA by 2030. If USA don't really get those people to fill the workplace, that's 3.2 trillion lost. And for China, it's 1.2 trillion loss. And UK, Japan, France, and all, you really put all of them together, it's $8.5 trillion. And do those countries really can lose those money because of those college students are not ready, or when you look at those boot camps and people are trying to reskill, but they do not have a platform to really practice. When you look at the ed tech, there are a lot of ed tech that have courses online for people to like learn how to be a salesperson or to be this and that, but they still don't have a platform to practice because there's none that really exists beside Kados. Now I'm like, okay, I can build Kado for college students, and then I can tap into the high school too as well. Then I can go to those people that are trying to reskill and to really help with the talent shortage.
Yeah. Yep. I think the model's great, and it's really the application, right? Like, theorizing things is great, but to the point we made previously, prove it, and you probably have more fun too, right? Like, if you consider it homework, but you're working on the project, you're probably, to your point that you made earlier, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to work harder, longer, because you see the value in it, right?
Yes.
And like with countries that want to compete with each other, which they all seem to do, the ones that do fill
Yeah.
that void a little bit, they'll be better off, right? They'll
Yes.
be the ones colonizing Mars, and their economies will be better. All of that. There might be losers too that
Yes.
they move too slow, and when their people leave, and the ramifications are very big. All right, so going back to the wearing many hats, I know you have been involved with 1 Million Cups, and then you're accepted into the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center program. Talk a little bit about the importance of those things for you and your team, and how it's helped your business.
Yeah, one thing that I wish most first time founders take a really big advantage of is 1 million cups. 1 million cups, you could go on a Wednesday and said, okay, I'm gonna go into to present my business, and then COVID came, and then they had to like do that on Zoom, and now you can be in Utah presenting Cali or New York. That I'm like, okay, so since my team is small, and then I can do this in any city that has a 1 million cups, and I don't need to travel. And the benefit to that is you get some great feedback, some people who have built a business before, and they just want to give back. But me, I use it as a sales funnel to really ask those people, hey, can you connect me with a school? Can you connect me with a student? Hey, do you know any business that might use Kado? So that's how I was able to build a huge pipe a line of schools and businesses too as well, because I did 125 of them at that 125 city
Wow.
every Wednesday at 9 a.m. and then I go on Zoom. I talk for 30 minutes, which might bring me 2, 3 school in that city or state, or 5, 10 businesses too as well. So it's free, and you don't have to pay money, but just give your time, 30 minutes to get a few clients for free. So yeah,
That's a good hack.
yeah. So that's how I was able to get so many clients and users too as well, and then I spread the word. With Nasdaq, I applied to the program. They don't give you the money as most as YC or Techstars, but when you first applied, and then they really would jump on a Zoom call with you and to help you build your goal for the next 3 months. And if you cannot build your goal in 1 week, they're like, okay, so you are not supposed to really be in that program. And every week you really have to hit your goal, whether it's a goal to market, whether it has to like bring on new clients or standard. And every week I had to make sure that I hit my goal and to really stay in that program and to really see your face on Times Square. You're like, well, I'm halfway in, and that's a one-time thing that you might never had an opportunity to to really be on that big screen. But if you raise money, or if you really get an exit, then you might have a chance to really be on there. I'm like, okay, but I cannot get on there. But with Nasdaq now, I have a great partnership with them, because now I can tap into the network and then have the businesses use Kado. And Kado is such a great platform. Any business or schools, they can use Kado. VCs can use Kado, and to really get an intern. Accelerators too as well can partner with Kado, and to have the startups hire students too as well, because startups take more time to hire the first two, three, four, five people, but they have so much things to do, and they can push like a design or a logo or this and that to college students, and they can do the work fast and quick, and it costs less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. No, this is a fantastic story, and I've, I know you've been around a few pitch competitions, and you're at the One Utah Summit and did well there, and so yeah, I don't reach out that often to folks, but I'm like, this is a unique story, and I like their model, and glad to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Appreciate it.